After my ex-wife left me for her affair partner and her life fell apart, my family is pressuring me to meet her and consider taking her back. I know some of you will immediately dismiss this story as a fake one, like something out of a Hallmark Christmas movie. Honestly, I wouldn't believe it either if it hadn't happened to me. But here I am, asking for advice. So, just pretend it's real and treat me like a person because believe me, I am one. I'm 32, and I've been through a lot. My ex-wife, Sarah, and I met in grade school in our small town. We grew up together and had a very special bond. She was my first love, my first girlfriend, and my first everything. We were high school sweethearts and even went to the same college. After I graduated, we got married when I was 23 and she was 21. She was still finishing her degree, and I worked hard to support us both. When she landed her first job after graduation, I was so proud of her, thinking all our sacrifices were finally paying off. I thought we were on our way to building a life together, but then everything changed. 2 years into our marriage, I came home one day to find her packing a bag. She sat me down and told me she had been having an affair with a coworker. I was completely blindsided, totally unaware that anything was wrong. She was crying and apologetic, telling me that she loved me but had fallen in love with this coworker. She claimed they had an undeniable chemistry and connection that she never felt with me. I was devastated. She moved out that night and in with him. The divorce was quick and painless. We didn't contest anything, and she took almost nothing from our shared life. We lived in a state where no children were involved, so we were able to finalize everything within 10 days. We didn't even need a lawyer because we couldn't afford one. After the divorce, Sarah asked if we could be friends. To my shame, I just broke down in front of her and sobbed like a baby. I didn't say a word, just left. At that point, she was 23 and I was 25. For the next few years, I struggled. I was broken and depressed, but I tried my best to pick myself up. I went to therapy, started taking medication, and began working on my own personal growth. I took some professional certifications and eventually landed a job with a global consulting company, traveling all around the world. At first, I filled my days with work, workouts, and virtual therapy sessions at odd hours. Eventually, I got into incredible shape, thanks to all the traveling and lifting. Life was improving, but Sarah's betrayal still haunted me. Fast forward to early 2020. I was home in my hometown, spending some time with my family. My mom casually mentioned that Sarah had married the guy she left me for. Apparently, Sarah's parents and mine had kept in touch over the years since they were old friends. Sarah's parents had been hesitant about her marriage, but eventually supported her. Hearing this felt like reopening an old wound. I had worked so hard to move on, and now this news stung all over again. I told my mom as gently as I could that I didn't want to hear anything else about Sarah. She understood and never brought it up again. The next few years were about growth for me. I became better, both mentally and physically, and more successful in my career. But I never forgot what Sarah had done. I kept moving forward, focusing on my work and personal development. Then, in late 2023, I decided to take some time off and visit Iceland for Christmas. I went to my parents' place for Thanksgiving in my hometown, and one day, while sitting in a local independent drugstore, I saw Sarah. She walked up to me looking nervous with a flushed face. I was shocked. She said hello, and I didn't know how to respond at first. I was seething inside, but kept my cool on the outside. She started by apologizing again for how she ended things, though I reminded her that she had already apologized 100 times before when she dumped me, but she insisted she had been young and foolish, and over time she realized how much she had hurt me. She wanted to meet up later in a quieter place to talk, away from the prying eyes of the small town. I told her no. I was blunt, telling her I didn't see the point in meeting again. That pretty much deflated her, and she admitted that the meeting was more for her than for me. She said that I would get closure, not just on the way she ended things, but on the kind of person she was back then. She wanted to show me that she had changed, that she had learned about real love, and that the person she had become was someone I could respect and maybe even be friends with again. I wasn't interested, but I agreed to think about it. She gave me her number and I left. The next day, my mom and sister were all over me, pressuring me to meet her. Apparently, they had heard about it from Sarah's mom, and now I was the center of their little Hallmark Christmas movie. They told me that Sarah had changed and that I should at least hear her out. My dad just shook his head and walked away, clearly disappointed, while my brother thought the whole situation was hilarious. He said that since Sarah and I had known each other for so long, I should meet her for the sake of family peace. I honestly didn't want to, but I also knew it would make my family happy if I did. So, after much pressure, I agreed to meet her at the old school playground. It's a small town, so there's only one school from kindergarten to 12th grade. When I met Sarah, I told her straight up that I was there only as as a favor to my family. She acknowledged that, and we made some small talk. She told me she had been following my life on social media and had seen how much I had traveled. She commented on my relationship with Monica, a woman I had met while doing consulting work in Romania. I told her Monica was great, and we had a wonderful time together. Then Sarah started with the juicy details. Unfortunately, they weren't as exciting as I hoped. She admitted that once she started living with her affair partner, the chemistry faded. She said that the excitement of the affair quickly turned into a mundane, everyday relationship. The first time she had to do his laundry, she realized something was wrong. Apparently, she was stuck doing everything for him, even picking up his dirty laundry. It hit her that she had left me for a guy who was barely toilet trained. Then came the part that made me feel a little schadenfreude. Her marriage to him was a disaster. They fought constantly about money, and he was terrible with finances. They had a child together, but things fell apart when she caught him cheating. The irony wasn't lost on me. She left me for a guy who ended up doing the same thing to her. She now had a wrecked credit score and was living back with her parents, working at the same feed store her dad worked at. Sarah told me how much she missed me and how she had changed. She said she had been to therapy and was a completely different person now. She wanted me to know how much she cared for me, and that the person I used to know was still there. At that point, I was done. I told her that I had also changed since she left me. I said that when I touch something and get burned, I don't touch it again. I acknowledged that she had worked on herself, but I was no longer interested. I told her that if we ever got back together, the resentment would make me treat her poorly, and she didn't deserve that. I wished her well in the future and left it at that. Sarah was visibly upset, but I didn't let it bother me. My dad, of course, was disappointed that I caved to the pressure from my mom and sister, but I wasn't interested in reigniting anything with her. My brother found it all funny, and I ended up wrestling with him for a bit to blow off some steam. The next day, I left for Iceland. I'm staying here for the holidays, and afterward, I'm headed to Budapest for a follow-up project. Sarah isn't invited, and I have no intention of letting her back into my life.